And quote, the people need to be reevaluated in life. This cannot, and I mean by the most strictest not, nay. Not by a graying not, one in which gets things done, and quote, he listened, he valued, and most importantly he understood. He looked back at the room he was in, and was amazed once again by the intricate designs of the marble floors and doorways. He stepped out into the descending steps from which the monumental building sat, he loosened some of his buttons on his shirt, and took a big gulp from his canteen before stepping into the blistering sun's heat. No, the sun won't be kind until the problem is resolved. Here he was in the vast city of Athens at the School of Platonics, he would never get a chance like this ever again. It started when he was first wanted to become an orator and a botanist. He found himself walking from village to village in hopes of learning the more from the villagers around him. With luck he found his way to where he was now. He was going to join the stewards known as Zacharoi. These people were known for cleaning the Colosseum after a speech was given and standing guard as security for the school. Although this wasn't where he actually wanted to be, he felt as if he could story tell and orate just as good as any of them. He knew superiority took precedence over talent. He needed to make connections soon if he was going to stay in the school. He found himself walking alone back to one of the inns in the near city, and came across a boy dying on the street due to a sickness. Usually someone caught with some sort of sickness would be escorted out of the city, or go to a hospital, but he presumed that this boy had no value to him and his parents were nowhere to be found. He decided to give care. And quote, does this boy have a name? And quote, Klutz asked as he bent down towards the boy. He solemnly waited for the answer to come as the child coughed between giving him syllables. Studying him, he had golden skin, a red nose from probably rubbing it too much, and beggar's clothing. And quote, Rahman is my name, and quote, the boy had finally managed to get out. The boy flinched slightly as Klutz moved his hand to his forehead to feel for some sort of temperature. He felt warmth, but there was hope yet. And quote, can you walk? And quote, he asked. Rahman nodded reluctantly, and he got up with little help from Klutz. And quote, do you know your way to your home from here? And quote, Rahman nodded once again, and started walking back to which he came, back to the school. Bless the gods he can walk. But where is he taking us? There is nothing between this city and the school. As they traveled back to where Klutz has just studied, and now the city no longer in view, and only the massive Colosseum. He began to ask questions, and quote, young Rahman, do you know where we are going? There is nothing within leagues of either the city or the school, and you can't possibly live at the school, and quote, he chuckled to himself, because it was a foolish thing to say you lived there due to only nobles and people of the school lived there. To live there would be like saying you're of the greatest minds alive currently. But Klutz believed everyone had greatness inside of them. That was what he had always believed. He did not think slaves should be a thing. People working for nothing only because they were on the wrong side of the war, or unwanted was disgusting. People all had a purpose in life, and that was whatever they themselves thought. Thinking of the speech of earlier that day, it gratified him that one of the great Cicero, the statesman, believed the same things in which he did. The boy did not respond for any state of time till he had said that his uncle had taken him under his wing after his father had died being stabbed to death. Klutz understood that it was a touchy topic, and did not pursue with any further questions, as it was melancholy now with the sunrise behind them. Luckily there was a view due to Klutz keeping an eye on the boy and his surroundings. You could not trust people nowadays, especially when outside of the city. The views from the ocean were grandeur with the sun shining ever so brightly against the waters, creating a beautiful backdrop. The smell was contagious. The open waters mixed with the blooming flowers and plants gave way for a surprise for Klutz. It was almost time for growing season, which meant more rations for the people in the city, and less hunger. And quote, are you hungry? And quote, he fumbled through his satchel for rations and found some bread and dried cheese, offering it to him. The boy took it with eager as he continued to cough between bites. He then chugged what was left of the canteen in a smile and a quiet thanks. They needed to make it there as soon as possible if the boy had any hopes of living. After a few more hours they had finally reached the gates of the school again, and found that the Zacharoi were sitting guard. The boy had just said his name, and quote, Ramandy dash and quote. Just then, he was cut off as the sounds of the grand gates of the school began open. End quote, we welcome you home, young one, end quote. The Zakharoi bowed as they spoke in unison. Klutz stared in bafflement as Raman began to glow violently. End quote, who are you, end quote, he demanded to know. End quote, a god, end quote, Ramandy spoke in a thunder. End quote, you are just in your ways, and you are a welcome student here, Klutz, end quote. Klutz bowed and trembled before the god, wondering what he had done to deserve what was happening to him. For once in Klutz's life, he did not understand, but humbly accepted confusion.